Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. I'd like to welcome each of you to another FranTastic InSights video segment, whereby we introduce to you some very prominent personalities, all of whom are having a very positive impact on the ever-growing world of franchising. My name is David Craghead. I'm the Chief Franchise Expansion Officer for FranServe, and today I'll be your host for this week's FranTastic InSights session. FranServe, for those of you who may not be familiar with us, we're recognized as the world's largest franchise consulting and expansion organization. We have a very simple mission statement, and that is we change people's lives in a very positive way through franchise ownership. And we do that through a network of incredible franchise brands in 39 different industry categories. Our growth initiatives are supported by a growing portfolio of franchise consultants, all of whom are dedicated to helping their clients explore franchise opportunities which are deemed to be a perfect match to their individual search criteria. And today I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Zachery Beutler. Zach is the Chief Development Officer and co-founder of a very dynamic franchise development company, the name of which is HorsePowerBrands, headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska, consisting of an ever-growing portfolio of franchise brands in the home services industry. And they deliver first-in-class customer service and experience. And you're going to be able to experience some of that today with this recording. And today we're featuring one of those franchise brands by the name of iFOAM. That's iFOAM. And they are both a residential and commercial insulation company specializing in all forms of air insulation, including blown-in insulation, bat insulation, cellulose, and spray foam insulation. So Zach, thank you for being with us today. We appreciate your time. And as I pass the microphone over to you this morning, Zach, please share with us your business model description and your latest perspective on the iFOAM franchise brand.
Yeah, Dave. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. My partner and I founded HorsePowerBrands to disrupt the franchise industry. And so we're very unique. We own all of the franchise brands that we represent. So we are the primary decision makers. We're the primary ones responsible. We are also do all the development in-house. And we also own another platform called Z Services that support our franchisees. So it's kind of like a triangular franchise business that owns the brands, does the development, and supports them here in Omaha, Nebraska, with 250 plus employees. Now, iFOAM is one of my favorite brands in our portfolio. One of the things I like to look at is when you look at different franchise opportunities, which brands give you the largest enterprise value opportunity in 3 to 5 years? And for us, that's absolutely iFOAM. It's the biggest wealth vehicle that we could offer a candidate. And there's a barrier of entry that really gives it that opportunity.
Tell me, are there any what you would describe as unique distinctions of iFOAM that are not offered by your competition?
Well, when you look at our platform compared to others, we really focus on technology, not necessarily to just distinguish us from the competition, but there's a lack of trust between the homeowner and the home services contractor. That's one of the biggest things in that industry that we have really trying to overcome. And so we leverage a lot of technology to help the customer answer one big question. And that is, if I had to choose a company that I believe would do the best job at providing that service, who would I choose? And that's what we want them to say is iFOAM. Now, through that technology, it could be improved communication. It could be a printout proof that we sprayed that foam perfectly in their space. We use different smoke pens, thermal cameras. We leverage a lot of different pieces of technology to build that trust so they can really look at us as the most trusted service provider.
Very good. And I was looking at your website last week and again this morning. Tell me about the advantages or the differences for the consumer's viewpoint for blown-in blanket insulation as compared to bat insulation.
Well, let me take that a step further. Insulation is a service that's needed by all in all parts of the country. Every structure has to have it. We're in a really interesting time to be in that industry. When you look at the focus on energy efficiency, the changing levels of technology between spray foam, fiberglass, and cellulose, there is an ever shifting feeling that spray foam is capturing more and more market value every quarter. So every quarter, spray foam is capturing more and more of the market share. But when you look at the type of product that's going to be the most efficient when it comes to energy, as well as R value, as well as where you can actually feel a difference, and which is healthier, that's spray foam. And so it's an interesting time to be in the industry where that one product is kind of taking over that industry.
Okay. And as you continue to grow this brand across the country, do you anticipate, because of the 4 seasons that we have in the United States, do you anticipate any regional influence that would affect your business model for the specific climate needs of the different area, different states?
You know, David, we've launched 10 different franchise concepts, my partner and I have, all in the home service space. And what I can tell you is, even in home services that can be affected by cold weather, for an example, on an annual basis, there's no correlation or data that says that those types of or parts of the country produce less annual revenue. And so there is some seasonality that we experience across all of our brands in all climates, which is the week before Thanksgiving to about the first week in January, just due to more holidays. But you're still able to work in a lot of those climates even during the coldest parts. Now, colder weather markets might have a little bit of a slower December or January, but what we are finding is that they pick back up a lot faster when the cold weather hits. And there's not really a loss of market opportunity just because you're in a market that has different seasons, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. You mentioned your territories. Tell us about the design metrics of your territories. How are your territories created?
So we looked at, when we created our territory size, we use 200,000 in population defined by protected contiguous zip codes. Now, I love talking about the territory part just because a lot of times when we're working with candidates through the process, they would assume that higher income zip codes are more valuable than lower income zip codes. And that's not the case. There's no data that correlates that says that income level dictates performance. And so when you look at services that are needed by all in all climates, and then you look at residential as well as commercial opportunities, you really have to have a balanced segment of demographics. So in those territories, what we're looking to see is we want to have low to medium income in older neighborhoods, smaller lots, older homes. We also want another segment that's going to be medium to higher income in suburban areas. And then we'd like to see some new growth areas as well. We pre-map all of our territories across the country with a third-party system as well as internally. And what we found today is the average franchisee candidate does start with, I think if you do the actual math, it's like 3.3 territories.
Okay. And in that blend of your metrics, do you consider the ratio of commercial versus residential properties?
When we define the territories?
Uh-huh.
We don't. When a franchisee first starts their business, they're going to do mostly residential. The commercial is where we try to shift them after they've gotten a little bit of maturity, where they have more equipment and they have more employees. Now, the cash flow is a little bit harder on commercial because of the timeliness of the payments. Installation, for an example, you could wait 30, 60, 90 days to get paid on a commercial job, whereas in residential, it's paid almost immediately.
Right. Okay. And after a new franchisee has matured, at what point should their ratio be reflected? I mean, what would be an ideal blend between commercial and residential for a mature franchisee?
So for iFOAM, we'd like it to be about 50-50.
Okay.
Now, if they're getting to that level, I mean, that's a substantially large business. And so we really want them to start on the residential side, and then we want to shift them to more commercial.
Okay, very good. So you bring them into the commercial and you think they're ready for it, correct?
Yep. Now they can still go into the commercial when they feel this necessary, but what we typically advise them as they're coming through the process and launch is that you really got to cut your teeth on the residential and then slowly get into more commercial.
Are you forecasting for your business model any changes, significant changes over the next 1 to 3 years?
We are. I'm really excited about iFOAM specifically, just because when you look at the government focus on energy efficiency, you look at the change of technology to spray foam. There's a lot of things happening right now. The largest manufacturer of fiberglass insulation, which is Owens Corning, has just gotten into the spray foam game. They just acquired a large spray foam manufacturer for, I think, $400 million. So they're getting in, they're lobbying in Washington to create different R-value definitions. There's a lot happening with a focus on spray foam. And we really do believe in the next 3 years that one product is going to start to capture more and more market share at a significant pace.
Very good. Okay. For the benefit of our brokers, which we have over 600 brokers in FranServe, can you tell us a little bit about any hot territories that you would like our help in helping you fill?
One of the things that's surprising about this brand is that we're seeing an elevated or faster pace to success in markets that are small to medium in size. And that's the only brand that's really like that for us. So when we look at our top performing locations, we have Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Little Rock, Arkansas, Huntsville, Alabama. There's a lot of markets that are, not the Dallas, the Houstons, the Nashvilles that you would typically expect. So when you look at markets like Memphis, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee, Reno, Nevada, Des Moines, Iowa, those markets that are 1 million people or less, those are markets that we're proving out a lot of success right now. And those markets are just plain and simple, getting off the ground a lot faster. And that's unusual, I think, in franchising.
Okay. It's unusual, but very much welcomed, correct?
Correct.
And also for the benefit of our brokers who are watching this recording or listening to this recording, how would you describe the most perfect franchisee applicant for iFOAM? What characteristics do you want us to bring to the table?
So with iFOAM, there's a barrier of entry caused by the equipment, which I prefer. When I'm looking at a concept, I want to see some type of barrier entry where I can capture market share at a faster pace. And concepts that have that barrier of entry, that is typically what happens. And so for us, we need a candidate that's got a little bit more liquidity, which we're looking for around 130 to 150,000 in liquidity. We would prefer that, like the sales and marketing background, the driver personality, the hunter, the conqueror, the one that wants to get out there and really just build their market. What I'm really excited about this brand specifically is when you look at going out and finding customers, insulation is far less dependent on paid advertisements, because you can go meet with realtors, you can go meet with home builders, you can go meet with inspectors and HVAC companies to get referrals, and you can build up a residual stream of customers. That drops a lot more profit to the bottom line when you can build customers that way versus having to pay for them. And the paid ads still work fantastic, but being able to go out and actually, you talk to 10 builders, you get 2 of those on board. I mean, that's a substantial amount of business right there by itself. And so for our ideal franchise candidates, we want them to be excited to go out there and look at that as an advantage versus the type of candidates that are going to say, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable doing that. I'd rather be more behind the scenes.
Okay. All right. From the date of the signing of your new franchise agreement until the ribbon cutting ceremony, what kind of time frame does that normally look like?
Depending on the financing, we're looking at anywhere between 90 to 150 days. So SBA is definitely, over the last 3 or 4 years, the time period to get through that process is getting longer and longer. So if they're an SBA, they're going to be towards the 120 to 150. If they're non-SBA, they're going to be 90 to 120.
Okay. And what about the warehousing requirements? What do you see as a necessity for your new franchisees for the equipment and the materials?
They need about 1,500 square feet. Now, with this concept, there's a little bit of inventory that has to be temperature controlled, which can be stored in the truck. But ideally, we'd like them to have a small warehouse where they can park the vehicles, plug the vehicles in, as well as store some inventory inside.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit, Zach, about your training program, both classroom and the field training? What would the franchisee best benefit from?
So in Omaha, every month we hold an academy for 4 days. And we have a sales training, we have a technician training, as well as an ownership training. And so when our franchisees go through our onboarding process, there's phase one, which is more, check the box type items. Phase two is going to be more industry specific, online university equipment training. And then they get to Omaha, and there's then a 4-day session of training, and then a 5th day, which is more business overview. We send someone out to help launch their business. And then we also send people out on their first jobs from an installation standpoint. And so there is a ton of support of training new people every single month, ongoing and regionally training every quarter. So the amount of training and the access they get is substantial.
Okay. And let me think how to phrase this question. For most of your clientele, is this basically new construction, or could this be existing construction who needs to upgrade their installation?
It's absolutely both. And so we have on the residential side, you're really looking at a combination of what we call a retrofit, which is where we go into a home and remove old insulation and replace it with newer, better insulation. New construction is typically new homes, and then there's the commercial side of it. And so it's a combination of both of those.
And every day when we turn on the news, we hear more news, some good, some not so good, about the housing market and what we can expect going forward for the balance of 24 into 25. How does the fluctuation in residential housing affect your industry?
Well, here's one of the issues is I don't think that we've really seen that much fluctuation in the housing industry. And I don't think that we will. When you look at the demand for single family homes and the supply, there's far more demand than there is supply. And I think Home Depot just put $18 billion on a bet that the housing market's going to increase. And so I think for the time period, even in a recession, we've not really faced where there's this much demand with less supply. So if for some reason the housing market comes to a halt, multifamily is going to have to increase. And so I think we're in a really good place, especially for home services for the next 5 to 10 years.
Very good. And Zach, that brings me to my final question. First of all, I want to thank you for being so thorough with your answers. That's very helpful. And the last question I have for you is, if there is one takeaway from this interview today that we may not have covered, what would you want our viewers to know about your brand that we may not have spoken about?
Well, when I look at iFOAM, it's a very unique time where it's kind of like the perfect storm. We have a concept that's one of our most successful launches to date. We have fantastic first year volumes as far as average unit volumes. And when you look at the industry itself, there's a change in technology, there's a change of education, and there's a shift happening. I have not been in any time. I've worked on 15 different brands, David, and I have not been a part of a single industry or concept that has all of these things happening simultaneously, where the major, most profitable service line is getting to a place to where it's capturing more and more market share. The largest players that sell other service lines are getting into that spray foam space, and there's not enough people doing it. You add the energy efficiency demand, the government focus, it's all pointing to that this is going to be the next big thing.
Very good. Well, Zach, once again, I want to thank you for the privilege of your time today. This entire interview will be posted on the FranServe support site. It'll be archived in the FranServe library, and it'll also be uploaded to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And so, Zach, once again, thank you very much. And with that, we will adjourn today's FranTastic InSights social media recording. Thank you, Zach. Take care, sir. See you.